Good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Is EMS right for you? Now, this may sound kind of silly because apparently if you're listening to this, you're probably already in EMS. But I think the question is actually relevant to people who are in EMS because I think it's something that you need to evaluate yourself. Just because you got in here doesn't mean you need to stay in here. This is not a job that's everybody's cut out for. This is not a job that everybody's good at. You have to have certain character traits and qualities and skills to be able to do this job well. And if you can't, you're actually going to hurt yourself, the people around you, and your coworkers. So let's look at this first from the perspective of people who are not in EMS right now. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, this stuff's kind of cool, this is your first brush with the EMS community, and you want to know, hey, is this something that I should or shouldn't do? Well, I think you need to ask yourself a couple of questions. One, what kind of drive do you have? Because this is an incredibly demanding job, and you're going to have a lot of days where you don't feel good. You're going to have a ton of days where you don't feel good. You'll be sleep deprived, you'll be undernourished, overcaffeinated, underhydrated, whatever. You need to have an internal compass that says, this is what I want to do. This is my thing. And if you don't, then it's going to be an absolutely fucking miserable job. You are absolutely going to hate it. Even if you find one of those golden goose places that actually pays people very well for their cert, it's still not going to be fun. So if you have this pie in the sky, oh, it's going to be cool, it's going to be sexy, whatever I want to do this, no, it's not. It's going to be very uncool, very unsexy, 99% of the time. The number of times where I've been in situations where, like, damn, this feels like I'm in a movie or something, has been minimal over 13 plus years. It just doesn't happen all the time. So you need to see how you handle the mundane. If you have the motivation to stick with something even when you really don't feel like it most of the time. Another thing I would say is, how do you handle stress? I'm not even so much talking about the acute stress of running a call, because you find out pretty quick if you can handle that, and that usually sorts itself out. You normally can get a grip on the stresses of the job decently well when it comes to high acuity calls and so forth, being around death, being around violence all the time. But it's more of the prolonged stress, the lack of sleep, the typically very awful eating habits is stressful on your relationships, all of your relationships, your friendships, your significant other, your children, your extended family. It's stressful on everybody in some way, shape, or form. You will not have a normal life working in EMS. There is no normal life in EMS. Arguably, there's no normal life really anywhere, but especially in EMS, you're just not going to fucking have it. You're not going to have the same benefits as your friends who are working a Monday through Friday job. You're not going to have paid holidays off all the time unless you're at some random private service that can afford to do that. You're not going to get that. So you need to have a good grip on how you handle stress and how you cope with stress. What are your coping mechanisms? If you're someone who has habitually good coping mechanisms, okay, cool. This job's going to do pretty well for you. Another thing is, what do you want out of life in the long run? Do you want what brings you satisfaction? If you're someone who you could classify as, say, a craftsman who just loves doing the job, they're obsessed with whatever your skill set is. You just want to do that. You don't give a shit about anything else. Then cool, EMS is great. It's wonderful. If you want to have a career that you move up and that you feel like you're getting to make a difference and you actually get to become a bigger player in EMS, that's a lot harder. It's hard to get promotions in EMS, and unfortunately that's EMS's fault, because EMS does not clearly define what expectations are, and the promotion process is a whole lot of hoodoo voodoo magic of either who's literally blowing us or who is figuratively blowing us. It's true. That's unfortunately all too often how it goes. Now, there are a lot of places where there is some corporate involvement that's actually benefiting this situation, believe it or not. Corporate run entities are a little more picky about this stuff than, say, your good old boy system. But even that has its limits. So, if you're wanting upward mobility, EMS is a very, very difficult place to be. It's not impossible. And yes, you can be promoted without, blowing somebody literally or figuratively. But it's hard. It's not easy. And it's not as satisfying a process as most people would think it is. It's really not. And there's usually a lot of hatred and ill will from people. If you do get promoted, there's a lot of hatred and ill will from other people towards you for it. So again, if you're a craftsman kind of person and you want to just come in, take care of your patients, do your charts, and go home, and that's all you care about, then okay, cool. EMS will do just fine for you. All the other stuff, what kind of humor you have, what kind of moral values you have. I don't think that truly bears much on the discussion of whether or not you should get into EMS. With the only exception being, you really do need to have a fairly well developed appreciation for sarcasm because, well, you have to have an appreciation for sarcasm, and you need to at least acknowledge dark humor. That's not saying the dark humor is always healthy. It is an unfortunate reality of the job, whether it's good, bad, ugly, or otherwise. You're going to be around it, and if you get offended by it every single time, it's not going to go well for you. And I'm not saying that in a threatening way. I understand that there's people who feel a certain way about certain kinds of jokes, but the unfortunate reality is being offended at it is not going to change anything. And you have to be able to appreciate sarcasm because we are very type A personalities. We're going to bust each other's balls all the time, and there's no amount of HR training that's going to fix that. So if you got a thick skin and you can handle sarcasm, awesome. Come on. Now, switching gears to the people who are in EMS that maybe need to sit down and reevaluate if this is actually for them. I would say, first of all, how are you handling stress now? How are your coping mechanisms? If your coping mechanisms are dangerous, unhealthy, and toxic to everyone around you, ideally you need to fix coping mechanisms because finding a different job is not going to help that. But at the same time, maybe this isn't the best job for you. If you're going to be so emotionally taxed that that's what you feel you have to resort to, then you should probably leave. You really should, and I don't mean that in a condescending or hateful way. You really should just leave because EMS is not going to make that better. EMS is an incredibly hard, demanding, unforgiving way of life. And it's not going to get better on its own. So you have to take the responsibility to manage those coping mechanisms. But if that's not working, you need to go. Sorry. I hate to be that way, but that's just the hard truth of where we are. Another thing I would say, if you can't adapt to change, then this is not the right job for you to stay in because protocols are going to change. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people do the whole, well, this is how we did it back in my day. Well, evidence-based medicine says you're fucking wrong. Or at the very least, the current standard says you're fucking wrong. And I appreciate anecdotal wisdom. I do. I have thrived off of it a lot, and it has definitely shaped my instincts when it comes to clinical care. However, I also deal with the reality that medicine changes, and it's on me to keep up with it. It's on me to make sure that I am being the most up to date in my patient care standards. That's my problem. So if you have a hard time with that, if you think that we should still be doing things the way we were doing them in the 80s, you need to get out. This is not the job for you. This job will recycle itself every 10 years easily. As far as what the current standards are, what our best practices are, you go through a good recycle every 5 to 10 years, and things either get updated and clarified or new standards get initiated, and you have to adapt to that. And that's hard. I get it. That's not easy, especially if you've been in this for 10, 15, 20 years, you kind of get into a groove, and it's hard to shake that groove. But that's kind of our job. Another thing I would say is, if you can't be a professional in how you talk with patients and other providers, you need to get the fuck out of this job. Because I'm sorry, there's no excuse for a 30, 40, 50-year-old behaving the way they do that I see a lot of times, just because they're old and salty and think they have a right to. No, fuck off. Fuck off. We don't want you. We don't need you. Your experience is not that valuable to justify you behaving like that. It's just not. You need to be able to adapt to the change. Otherwise, you're gonna absolutely suck. You really are. I would say another thing that if you're feeling this way, or this is true of you, you should get out of this job quickly, is if you're feeling dissatisfied. If you don't have some sense of pride in or accomplishment um, with your work, then you need to find a different job. And that's not shame on you. This job is very dynamic. It does change. Unfortunately, even just in my career, outside of clinical investments, EMS has not advanced for the better. We haven't. We've gotten a lot fucking worse. And I hate that. And I think that we can reverse it. But I get that it's disheartening. Me personally, and me and Michelle both, our goal is to kind of turn that needle back a little bit, try to shift things back for the better. But that's a long uphill battle that is longer than most people want to stick around for. So if you're not feeling satisfied in this job, go do something else. There's no shame in that. I remember we used to give people so much shit when they would, have been in EMS for a while and then go to nursing school or some other kind of school or do something else. We used to give them so much shit. We're just like, oh, they couldn't hack it, they couldn't handle it, whatever. And now I'm like, you know what? Those people were doing the right thing. They were doing the right things for themselves, for their family, for their future. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's an honorable thing. Everybody should be doing that. So, my number one takeaway from all this today, if you're not in EMS and you are curious about it, you need to do a lot of self-examining. You need to have a lot of conversations with people and actually network with people that will give you a genuine look at this job, not the salty dogs who are like, oh my God, it's so fucking awful. It's horrible. No, they're just bitter and you shouldn't listen to them. Do some self-reflecting and see where you're at and if you really can handle the realities of this job, not just what you see on TV. For the people who have been in this for a while, you need to have a conversation with yourself pretty regularly to make sure you're still doing okay. And it's okay to cry mercy. It's okay to walk away. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to take care of yourself. You have to better your mind, better your body, better your health, your relationships, your career. And if you're not getting that in EMS, then cool, go do something else. Even if you may just need a different agency. You may just need some kind of job change. It doesn't need to be a full career change. But it's okay to do those things to take care of yourself. So that's all I got for you guys. Be safe. Have a good weekend. And we'll talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.